We are moving in 2 weeks, and I don't remember the last time I was this excited about something. Let's back up a little. A year ago, around May, me and my partner decided to move in together. He used to live with his parents in his hometown. I used to live with a roommate in a house here in Ljubljana. And my partner got a job in Ljubljana. I had been working for about 2 months at that point, and we decided to move in together. We were looking for a place, and the housing situation in Ljubljana is crazy. It was crazy last year, it's even crazier this year, it's probably gonna get even crazier next year. Prices have gone up exponentially. The places that are being rented out are horrible, Exhibit A. So, because he was just gonna start working and I had only been working for about 2 months, and at that point I was still working as a student and I didn't know whether I would continue with my master's or I would get employed full-time, so I didn't know how much I would end up working and consequentially how much money I would be making. We were only looking for a roof over our head. We knew that our budget wasn't very high, so we didn't really care about any luxuries, we just wanted a roof over our head. We started looking and it was slim pickings. We stumbled upon the place that we're living in right now, and from the moment we saw it, we knew that it's not really what we would want to live in, but the price was okay. 500 euros with expenses included, like electricity, heating, water, internet, all of that included. And that was quite a low price. I mean, we eventually figured out that it came with consequences, but at that moment that was the best we could get. There was no way we would find anything lower than that with all the expenses included. Everything else that we looked at was from 700 onwards, and we wanted to save money and just wanted to, just get the cheapest possible thing. So we moved into this place. We've been living here since the beginning of June last year, so a bit less than a year. And we've had issues. Let's take a look at the current house and point out everything that's wrong with it. And oh boy, there's a lot. Our first issue is the gate. Every other house in this neighborhood has a nice sliding or motorized gate. We're the only ones that have this stupid wooden gate that you have to do a whole fucking choreography to open. It's kept together with a piece of yard, with a piece of rope, and you have to keep it in place with bricks. When it rains, and that happens quite often in Ljubljana, this whole driveway gets so muddy. I don't understand why they just didn't put pavement over the whole thing. I absolutely hate it. I hate it. Here's the entrance to our palace. It's a door that can be kicked open by an 80-year-old lady. To lock it, you need to kick it, because that's the only way. Doesn't close any other way. The hallway looks quite dingy. There's this mirror in a weird frame. The light switch of the bathroom is behind the door, because apparently that was the most convenient place for it. I don't understand. The bathroom looks like it hasn't been renovated in about 100 years. It's super small. I don't know why they put a bathtub. They could have just put a shower there and saved some space, but okay. There's a boiler there, mirror that I can't seem to clean ever. There's only one little shelf, so storage space is limited. There's also no drain in the bathroom, so good luck mopping the floor. The only drain is in the bathtub. Then we enter the architectural marvel that is this kitchen. The floor is tilted, so when you're cooking, your food is leaning towards one side. When you're cleaning dishes, water is spilling somewhere in the back, and the cupboard beneath the sink is really moldy. You can't store anything in there. The cupboards are really old, and there's not really a lot of storage space. Storage is a big issue in this kitchen. We have to resort to putting dishes on the chairs because there's just nowhere to put them, and we also have boxes beneath the table. Yeah, it's decrepit looking. The only good thing in this kitchen is this little table where I put a lot of our teas and coffee and breakfast stuff. It's kind of the breakfast station. and I also use it to put the blender and the water heater and the air fryer. So that's honestly the only thing that I like in this kitchen. We got a new trash can yesterday, finally one that has a pedal that you open with your foot, because I hate touching the trash can. The one we had before, the one that came with the house, is this plastic one that opens weirdly and you can't really optimize the space. We have this really old racks on the floor, and the floor is some weird material that they didn't even bother to set down properly. It's just so old. The power goes out when you have more than one thing plugged in, because it's a really old house and we have to turn it on this power box here, and that's always a very scary thing because I always think I'm gonna be electrocuted. We have a gas stove with only one electrical plate that I'm not a big fan of, and we have this really old washing machine that washes your clothes for 3 hours. There's a gap between the stove and the sink where food always falls, and another one between the washing machine and the stove, and it's just a mess to clean. Moving on to the living room, the chair, the desk and the bookshelf are ours. The house came with the rocking chairs, which are one of the few nice things here. There's also a couch, and there was an old wooden table that we disassembled and stored under the couch because there was nowhere else to put it and the owners were not willing to take it away. The couch is quite old and not very comfortable, so we put an extra mattress on top of it and turned it into an extra sleeping space for when we have someone over. The light switch is of course in a very inconvenient space right behind the door, which is I guess why they put this weird lamp on the wall to compensate for the light switch being in a weird place, although it doesn't help much. Moving on to the bedroom, we have a queen size bed, which is definitely not enough for 2 adults. There's this old big wardrobe which might look nice but is very inconvenient because it has this latch to open it and it's just a lot of open space, so we had to buy this organizer for clothes. Ignore all the messiness, my partner is not a fan of folding clothes, as you can see. Closing this wardrobe with one hand only was definitely not the easiest thing in the world. The nightstands, especially this one, are also old, but we compensate for that with cute fairy lights and this really nice mirror, which I of course bought myself. This did not come with the house. Another extra detail is that the door doesn't close. For some extra charm, we have a wobbly handle, this very old clock, some wooden birds, and an old picture of Ljubljana. Some of the biggest problems that this house has are, first of all, the electricity. It's a very old house, so the electricity, like the consumption at one point is, I don't even know how to explain this, but it's limited. So you can either turn on the boiler or turn on the air fryer. You can't have both at the same time because then the power goes out, and there's this little power box where you have to press a button, and it's always so scary because I always think I'm gonna get electrocuted. It's happened so many times. Sometimes the power goes out only in the sockets and then we can turn it back on by ourselves. Other times there's a complete outage and you can only fix that by going to the owner's place. Like the owners live in the same house, just in a different part of the house. So you have to go to their place, you have to, ask them to pull the switch up because it's in their house. And that's really annoying because sometimes it happens at 10 p.m. and I don't feel comfortable waking up people that are in their 70s at 10 p.m. and asking them to give me back my light. Another big problem is moisture. I don't know why. It might be because there's a stream nearby, not that close, but still like in the vicinity. It rains a lot in Ljubljana, and also as I said, it's a very old house. It's really humid inside. Like it's so humid to the point that I take out a freshly washed, freshly dried towel, and the moment I wipe my hands, my wet hands on it, it starts smelling moldy. So that's horrible. That also means that we had issues with mold. There was mold there on that window. There was also mold in the bathroom. We managed to clean most of it, but sometimes it keeps reappearing, like in the bathroom it appeared again. The kitchen is an architectural disaster. I don't know who built this place. but they did not do a good job. The floor is tilted, and when you're cooking, your food is also tilted. When you're washing dishes, the water slides to the behind, like behind the sink. I don't know where, and it probably falls somewhere behind. Like, again, you can't see it, but I know that like a lot of it ends up somewhere behind, because the cupboard under the sink smells so moldy. Anything you put in that cupboard is gonna stink so much that there's no way you can use it without thoroughly washing it again. So we've just decided never to use that cupboard and never to open it. We also have an issue with the owners. The first day that the heating season started, we didn't even know that it started. We didn't even know that they would turn on the radiators. But the first day they started heating, we had left our windows open like diagonally because there's so much moisture and because you have to air it out, otherwise it's gonna smell moldy. They called us while we were at work to say that how dare you leave the windows open, like how dare you want fresh air. They said that they started heating and that we should keep them closed, and they went inside the apartment to close them. When we came home from work, it smelled a lot, like it smelled really moldy inside. We opened them fully and left them open for a while because you have to air it out. The lady came and she was just so pissed. She started yelling at us, saying that this is not how we're gonna do things, these are just the house rules, if we don't like it, we can break the contract right away. This was late autumn, like right before the winter. This was November. So like telling people right before November that you're gonna break their contract, where the fuck would we go? I guess she didn't care. And if we wanted to have our windows open, we should go in an apartment building. I don't know how that makes sense, but I guess it makes sense to her. She said that windows should only be opened like once a day. You open them, you air out for a bit, and then that's it. You close them and never open them again. We told her that we have a problem with mold and that, like, especially in the kitchen, that the cupboard under the sink is really smelly. And she said, well, if you're gonna be so sensitive, then maybe this is not a place for you. Yeah, I am sensitive to mold. My lungs are sensitive to mold, as I'm sure are everyone else's lungs. She just brushed it off, like she didn't think that it was a big deal. Then she complained about us using the stove, because we have one electrical plate and 3 gas ones. By that point, they hadn't even turned on the gas, or didn't even show us how to turn on the gas. So we were using the electrical one. And also, when you're cooking with gas, you have to have your windows open, because otherwise you can poison yourself and die. She said that since moving in, we've just been using so much electricity, which again, I don't understand how, because we are at work for most of the day, then we go to the gym, we leave in the morning and we come back home in the evening. When are we using all this electricity? How is cooking once a day on the electrical plate, sometimes not even once a day, less than that, how is that spending so much electricity? She also said, we're giving you this place for very cheap, so you shouldn't be complaining. And I'm here thinking, lady, what you're giving, even if you're giving it for free, it would be too expensive. Another issue we have is that sometimes you're on the verge of getting electrocuted. Mattia has this bad habit of walking around barefoot. I always wear slippers. I can't step anywhere without slippers. He walks barefoot. He's been shocked a few times. This is one of the worst parts. He has been shocked while washing dishes, touching the stove, or touching the washing machine. I've also been shocked when I turn the boiler on or off. There's this sparks coming out of the switch. We haven't said anything about this yet because they don't seem to give a fuck. But now that we're moving out, we're definitely gonna tell them about this problem because they need to fix this. I don't understand how you can rent out a place like this without checking, the basics. Like, is the electricity working properly? Is the water working properly? Is there mold in the place? Like, how do you not check these things? Another problem is that we have neighbors that think it's okay to yell at the top of their lungs when they're talking to each other, like a husband and wife, or just arguing like super loudly. They also think it's okay to have a lot of parties on like Saturday evening or Sunday evening. They blast this super Balkan music and they don't care. It's really, really loud, and people have called the police, like other neighbors have called the police. It doesn't help. Then we have another neighbor that our kitchen window looks into his backyard, and I think he has some arguments, like long-going argument with the owners of this place, so he just decides to take it out on us. Every time I have the kitchen window open, he starts playing music right next to the window, and he starts yelling, and like, you can't have a normal conversation with this person. He says himself that he's crazy. Like, he says it himself. And you can't have a civilized conversation with him because he's not a civilized person. So yeah, living in these surroundings where There are just so many weirdos around that don't understand not bothering people around you and like not being super fucking loud with everything you do. They just don't understand the concept of this. Yeah, this place is just so old. The furniture hasn't been updated since the era of Tito. I really can't wait to be out. 2 weeks left. I swear to God, these are gonna be the longest 2 weeks of my life. I'm gonna film the whole moving process. Next week we'll do some packing because there's a lot of stuff we need to take, and then you'll get to follow us along the journey. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of my moving series. Thank you for watching, and see you next week in the packing video. This would be so nice with spices.